getting beat to the guards. I tried this morning, just did a little something. No, guys, I am so happy to be here with you guys. And like Dr. Richmond, I like to bring you guys in. I'm going to have a conversation with y'all, tell y'all a couple stories. But like she started the conversation, we are here to talk about Black women and HIV. And as I walk around this room, I'm seeing 98% of us are Black women, okay? So that means we're going to talk about us today. We're going to talk about Black and brown women and HIV, because it's not gone anywhere. It is truly an epidemic, and I know it's one of those sticky, icky conversations that get kind of, I don't really want to talk about it, But by the time y'all leave here from Dr. Richmond and myself, I want you to know so that you can live your best life. Okay? Living our best lives. I ain't going back and forth with you. I ain't doing none of that with y'all. And y'all not going to do it with anybody else, because you're going to walk out of here knowing so that you can live your best life. Okay? Because everything that we do is about choices. So, like they said a little bit about me, you guys can see it in the bio. My name is Shadon McCants, and I am a licensed professional counselor. I've been doing that work for about 8-9 years now. I tell people, though, I've been a therapist since I was a little girl. I was that friend that, you come and bring all your business to. And I was sitting there waiting to tell you what to do. Now, of course, as a therapist, I don't tell you what to do, because guess what? You have the answers. Everybody in this room, you have the answers inside of you. My job is just to help you along the journey to figure that thing out. And, Dr. Taria talked about something that was really important. Even more important than a therapist, I'm actually a healer. And I don't take that assignment lightly. I tell people every healer is a therapist, but every therapist isn't a healer. So I don't take my assignment lightly at all. And so, as we talk about Black women and HIV, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the mental health part and component that plays into women and HIV. How many of us have ascribed to, let's go ahead and keep it real, I'm a strong Black woman. Let me see your hand. Go ahead. Come on, don't even lie. We talk about we strong, we powerful, play with it if you want. What? And then Shakira talked about it last night. Because most of us are what? First responders, exactly. We the ones that ride or die. What? You said 2 a.m? Knowing you need your 8 hours of sleep, but guess what? You're going to get up when he called. You're going to get up when she called. The kids' nose running, everything happening. And guess what? You forget about the fact that who comes first? If mama ain't right, what? Exactly. Let's say it again. If mama ain't right, ain't nobody right. But that's what we do as Black women. As women, period. We tend to show up regardless of what's going on in our lives. And I'm sorry, y'all, we are in the midst of a pandemic. And I don't know about y'all, but how many people done experienced some anxiety in this season? Exactly. I was already anxious before the pandemic. You want the truth? I was already anxious before the pandemic. My bills was already due. That part. The kids was already getting on my nerves. That part. The husband, I thought I had another child. So I know what y'all going through, right? And then there became the pandemic. And anxiety is all about, I don't know what the heck is about to happen. Most of us are still there. We hopefully on the downside of it, but the reality is we still are in a pandemic that we don't understand what is happening here. We still see violence. We still see corruption. We still see a lot of things that are causing us a level of fear, a level of worry that is far beyond what we could think or imagine. And then I'm going to ask this question. How many of us have ever been depressed? See, I love this audience because I like for people to be honest with me. Because you see my hand up, both my hands up. Right. Depression is real, guys. It really is. And I'm here to talk to you about it. You know, depression is something that can grab a hold of you and you don't even know that it has your coattail. Okay? So let's keep it real in this space. Again, I am a black woman, a therapist with a therapist. And I am not ashamed to say that I have a diagnosis of anxiety, depression, PTSD, and in recovery of an eating disorder. And that's just the truth of the matter. So I'm not going to stay here. I don't talk to people from a place of, oh, yeah, I got this letter and that letter and this thing. No, I don't. Because in order for us to, again, live our best lives, we must show up and tell the truth. And the truth starts with you. So depression, the symptoms and signs. Who can tell me some of them? I ain't going to even have to tell you. Sleeping. Either you're sleeping too much or you're sleeping not enough. Not eating or you're eating too much. Not bathing. Isolation. Because this baby right here talked about that yesterday. You isolate. But the thing is, it starts with, you know what, nah, girl, I don't want to go out. Nah, boo, I don't want dinner tonight. No, coworker, I'm just not for that today. Well, I'll catch you at the next happy hour. What are some other signs and symptoms, guys? Fatigue. What are some other ones? Exactly. Doing the things that you do, not wanting to do the things that you used to once enjoy. I love modeling. I stopped doing it. Lack of motivation. What'd you say? Stagnation. Yes, stagnant. You can't even. The other thing is a lot of times people be like, I can't think. Oh my God, you get forgetful. You start to forget things that you know you need to be remembering, but you like, I can't remember that. Like, oh my gosh, just a fog. Brain fogs. These are all signs, guys, of depression. Easy, oh God, easy to anger. Yes, irritable. Got a whole attitude. Did you say what? I'm driving the car like, mama, yeah, that part. And there are, yes, I love that she said physical symptoms. There are body symptoms. And body symptoms also go with anxiety, guys. Anxiety will get you in the hospital thinking you're having a whole heart attack. And it actually is a panic attack. And panic is when the onset of sudden fear and you can't explain what's going on. You have no clue. So these are some things, guys, that as we talk about with black women, I need you to be aware. Because guess what? When you're not paying attention to your body and your mind and your soul, other things just get way behind you. The last thing you're going to be thinking about is HIV. The last thing you're going to be thinking about is an STI. Because another thing I know when we are anxious and sometimes when we're depressed, sometimes we run to some things we don't need to run to. Some of us run to the bottle, promiscuity, get it in, get it in, get it in. Because you so low, you just want somebody to fill a void. You want somebody to fill a void that you can't feel. And at the reality, he can't feel either. It may be temporary to fill one hole or two or three, but that's it. It's only temporary. And so I challenge my black women and all my women in the room and women of color is to make sure that you mind your mental. Because it's very important. Because again, in order for us to show up for ourselves and show up for others, shall I say, for us, in order for us to show up for others, we must first show up for ourselves. So I've been doing this work for a little time, and as you read in my bio, one of the things that I love is that I'm able to do work with black women, but more importantly, young girls. I love my adolescents, y'all. Ooh, I know y'all be ready to throw them away, but I love my babies. I love my young babies. I love my young adolescents. I love being there for them. And a reason for that is I'm going to tell you a story about a girl that I met. Still know her to this day, but I met her when she was really young. And this young girl was in a home that was pretty abusive. Her mom beat her pretty often because she reminded her of her father. Who knows of that story? Somebody talked about the things that happened in the black family. And so her mom used to abuse her because of who her father was. Often would tell her when she beat her, you're just like that loser, like that nothing, like that boom, 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 beep, beep, beep. And the young girl, also knew who her father was, but he wasn't present because the mom did everything she could to keep her from him. What does a girl need most in her life? A lot of times people don't believe that, but it is very true. A girl's first love is her father. I'm sorry if y'all didn't believe it, if y'all didn't know it, it really is. And so this young girl was a straight A student, did everything that she could, but again, her mother continued to just browbeat her. And not to, I understood the situation for the way that it was told. And knowing what I know, the mother didn't know how to love either. And oftentimes that happens. And that again goes back to that mental health. I think Shakira, I don't see her in the room, but she's a generational breaker. There's so many generations that have gone into the lives of us, the lives of our children, and the lives of our parents. As a therapist, I'm into epigenetics, and so that is the DNA that runs through our body. And I do take it back to 400 years ago when my great-great-great-great-grandmother my ancestors were enslaved. They weren't slaves, they were enslaved because that wasn't their choice. And so the pain and the heartache that ran through their bloods, again, ran through mine until one of us decides to break the generational curse. It is very real, guys. I do believe in that. And so with this young girl, again, there was another generation of pain passed down. And so this young girl went through she went through elementary. Eventually, she was able to get into her father's life. But when she met her father, she was in love. Like, she had this opportunity to be with this man and hope that he would show up and be everything that he needed to be and rescue her from the dungeon and the pits of hell, which is what it felt like. But only for him to look her in the face, because at that time he had a new wife and a new family, and to tell her, this woman that lays beside me is my sunshine. She's the reason that I live. And that if you plan to be in this home, you'll have to get with the program. This is what she's told at 12 years old. And so, mind you, how do you think she felt? The one man that was supposed to love her, supposed to show her what a man is supposed to do, how he's supposed to treat a woman, how she's supposed to come up in the world and hopefully be a beautiful, beautiful queen. But instead, she's told by her father, somebody else holds the space of my sunlight, my sunshine, and that ain't you. So needless to say, as I've continued to get to know this girl, the story became she was looking for love in all the wrong places. She went from, being a straight A student to what some would say a thought bop, whatever you want to call it, but she also, at the end of the day, I know mental health plays a part. She was doing what she had thought, or what she thought was most important, or what she needed to do in that season of her life. And this young girl, at 17, went into a doctor's office and ended up with meningitis. And ended up with meningitis, 6 spinal taps, 7 spinal taps later, was in the hospital. Got out only for the doctors to say, oh, well, you're okay, you're good, you get to go home. But the young girl knew something wasn't right. So she called her doctor. And in calling her doctor, she told her doctor, we need to do some additional testing. And those additional testing, doctor said, well, didn't you just get out of the hospital? She said, yes, I did. And so the doctors and her continued to do testing. And 2 weeks later, she found out from the doctor, I'm sorry to tell you, you have HIV. 17 years old, a senior in high school. Today I stand before you, that young girl, 26 years later, living and thriving with an HIV diagnosis. Yeah, that's me. That is me. That is a part of my story. So, yeah, and everybody up top, I want you to stop for just a second again and hear what I said. I am the woman, beautiful, bold, black woman, living and thriving with an HIV diagnosis. So like Dr. Taria talked to you, she laid the groundwork for you guys. You saw the statistic, right? What was it? Somebody tell me, what was that statistic? Okay, good. Y'all saw it, 64%. So guess what? I stand in the gap for the 1 in 48 black women that will receive an HIV diagnosis in her lifetime. I said it again. 1 in 48 black women will receive an HIV diagnosis in her lifetime. So I pray I stand in the gap for you today, that I'm it. But even if I'm not, guess what? You see me stand here before you 26 years later, come December 19th. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. But today, I need you not to join this fraternity, this sorority. Don't come over there on this way. I don't want you. I don't want you in this with me. What I want you to do is be an ally. Because today you're going to hear my story. And I charge you to know so that you can live your best life. It's your choice now. Because what I tell people is that once you have been under the sound of my voice, you don't get to come and say, you know what, I didn't know. He did this. That old, no, we ain't going with that. I don't go down with that. Him, he, she, they did. Because now you know that you have a choice to live. HIV is still an epidemic, but it is not a death sentence. It is not. It is not a death sentence, and I have been living and thriving to show and tell you that. Now, again, I'm not standing here telling you guys that it has been an easy feat, because it hasn't. I was 17 years old, a senior in high school, and everything that I thought was about to happen for me in my life changed in that moment. You talked about it, grief. For 23 years, I had to grieve the loss of everything that I had dreamed in that time in that season of my life. I wanted to be a model. I wanted to act. I also professionally thought I was going to be a lawyer. Probably still will. I'll probably go to law school at 50. A social worker or a police officer was my dreams. I even at one point thought about going to the Air Force. But again, back then, y'all knew it wasn't no Air Force. You was not getting in nobody's service. You wasn't fighting for nobody's war. You know, it was still 4 years after Magic Johnson had just came out and, stated that he was living with HIV. And guess what? Nobody even wanted to be on the same basketball field with him. So imagine what it was for me, 17 years old, trying to figure out and navigate life. I tell people I gave birth to 3 babies. 3 triplets. They became my babies. Shame, fear, and guilt. I carried them babies for quite some time. But again, but God. That's what I am going to say. I stand before you because when I received the diagnosis, I tell people this. God has had his hand on me for so long. Actually, I remember I was 8 years old. I was sitting behind a pew, me and my little girlfriend, my little friend. And we was like, all these people, you know how y'all been in here shouting and praising? I was like, ooh, what these people doing? God. So I would go to church just to sit there and watch folks just shout. 8 years old, that became me. Holy Spirit came on me. Now, again, I didn't really know what it was because I wasn't in a Christian home. But all I knew was that something and someone had a hold on me. And that my life was purposed. From that moment, I knew. But I also know that God will allow you to make some choices. So it is your choice. It's called free will. And so I knew I was living. I knew I for something in my spirit, it was churning in my soul that I knew I was living with HIV. So I was able to tell the doctor. I was the one who asked her. So when we talk about the systems that are not set up for us, I was a 17-year-old senior in high school, and I had to come to my provider and tell her, hey, I need you to test me after being in the hospital for 6 or 7 days, 8 spinal taps later. Are you serious? But guess why? Because I was the strong black woman even at that time in my life. But I advocated for myself. And that's what I'm asking you guys to do today. But the other thing is I sat in that doctor's office and I heard loud and clear the voice of God say, this is unto death. You will live and not die. He also told me that I'm going to use you. And I said, the devil's a lie. At 7, I said, excuse me, 17? Yeah, okay. And I'm honest, guys. For 23 years, I ran from my calling. I ran from doing this. 2 years ago, you wouldn't have caught me in front of anybody talking about I was a woman living with HIV, let alone trying to encourage the multitude, millions of women to live and not die. Actually, I'm going to tell y'all a quick story, too. So, my 20-year diagnosis, I was shocked. I was like, I hadn't really thought about it. It hadn't really hit me. It was 20 years at that time. So I decided to have a red party. And at my red party, I told people, I said, oh, don't get it twisted. I'm letting y'all in on my story. I'm celebrating with y'all, but I am not the face of HIV. I won't be on no posters, no billboards, don't you, but if somebody need me, you know somebody, give me a holler. Look where I'm standing at. I've actually been on national stages. I'm now a speaker I'm actually an ambassador for the CDC, Let's Stop HIV Together. I'm a part of Positive Women's Network, USA. I'm the co-chair for Texas Black Women's Health Initiative. God has done so much in these last 2 years of my life. And I'm going to tell you, and I know it's him, and I'm faithful. Because in 2018, I tell people, we're all in here. Ain't none of us perfect. Ain't nobody relationship with God been peaches and cream, skip to the loo, my darling. You done got mad at God. You done got angry with God. You done questioned God. And I'm going to tell you, up to 2018, I was like, okay, God, I'm a little tired right now. But I was doing my thing. I was 6 figures in, and I thought I was doing the damn thing. But then there became this emptiness inside. And I couldn't shake this emptiness. I couldn't shake it for nothing. And I met this woman who, anointed is all I can say. And she looked at me and she said, Shadon, there's this light on you. And I said, I've been told that all my life. No, Shadon, there's a light on you. She was like, you've been running too long. And I was like, what? I'm sitting here in my own house like, what is this what I'm talking about? You've been running too long. God said your story is no longer yours and you need to share it. And I was like, and she really didn't know the details. She said, God is telling me to tell you it's not unto death, but it will be if you don't share it. Because somebody's waiting on you. And I was like, Needless to say, for 2 weeks I cried and I tried to run from that thing. And I tell people God always gets me on a hardwood floor, laminate floor, whatever y'all want to call it. I cried out unto God and I said, you know what, God, just tell me. I got to know. I'm done, God. I'm done fighting. What is it that you want? And he said, you already know. I done told you. You already know you've been running and I didn't let you run, but this is the last time. And I heard it loud and clear. Loud and clear. You don't get to run anymore. It's not your story. I've asked you. I've equipped you with everything that you need. And he said to me, if you trust me. That's what I heard from God. If you trust me. And I'm like, trust you, God. That's a big task. And I told him, I said, God, I don't look good in orange. Stripes ain't my story. And if you know why I'm saying that, then you know why I'm saying that. I done did some things. So I was like, God, that ain't my story. Needless to say, 2 years later, I stand before you. a beautiful, bold black woman living and thriving with an HIV diagnosis and determined to take every woman with me to know her status. I want you to be emboldened to be who you were created and destined to be. All of us have a destiny. All of us have a choice. All of us have a path. And like I tell people, God is amazing. Amazing. Who would have thought that I was living with HIV before I walked in this room? Be honest. Who was shocked when I just said that? Go ahead, tempter. Shame the devil. Exactly. I love doing it because that's the other thing that God has continued to let me know, that I am worthy. I am enough. I am beautiful. I am love. I am light. I am none of the things that I ascribed to when I was living in a diagnosis of HIV. I'm not those things, and neither are you. You're nothing that the naysayers or the story that is before you. It may look bleak. It may look tough. It may look hard. But you are bigger than that. And I want you to know that, and I am standing proof that you are bigger than that. So as I stand before you and I follow up behind Dr. Richmond, I do want you guys to do everything that you need to do. Please take advantage of the services that are here today. If there is anything that I can do to you ladies up top, if there's anything I can talk to you about, any question that you may have is confidential. I am here to support you. If you need me to hold your hand while you get tested, then you come get me and I got your hand. As is beautiful, I believe Miss McIntosh said, she says it, but I say it a little different. I am not just my sister's keeper. I am my sister.